Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening and welcome to this meeting of Woodley Town Council Strategy and Resources Committee on being held on Tuesday the 9th of June. Woodley Town Council meetings are now recorded with recording streamed live and stored on the Town Council's YouTube channel. By virtue of attending the meeting, you consent to having your image and audio recorded for this purpose. If you do not wish to stay, if you do not wish for your image and audio to be recorded, then please do not stay for the meeting. For those in attendance, we're not expecting a fire drill this evening, so if you hear the fire alarm, please head to the nearest fire exit and congregate at the fire assembly point by the Oakwood Centre at the front of Woodford Park. Thank you very much. As this is the first meeting of this committee of the municipal year, first item up is for the appointment of chairman and deputy chairman. So can I have nominations for chairman?
I would like to nominate Councillor Keith Baker.
Okay, and do we have a seconder for that?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Do we have any other nominations? Okay, can we take a vote on that, please?
5-4. That's everyone.
5-4, thank you. As Councillor Baker is not present this evening, we'll move straight to election of deputy chairman. Can we have a nomination for?
Nominate Alison Swabble.
And do we have a seconder for that, please? Okay, do we have any other nominations? And can we take a vote on that, please?
That's 5-4.
That's 5-4. Fabulous. I will hand over to Councillor Swaddle.
Thank you very much, members. Do we have any apologies?
Yes, we've received apologies from Councillor Baker, Charles Bay, Kennedy and Rowland. Both Councillors Charles Bay and Rowland advised that they'll be attending virtually. Councillor Charles Bay was on a second ago. Are they both on there?
Councillor Rowland not at the moment, but I'll keep an eye.
So Councillor Charles Bay is attending virtually at the moment.
Do we have any declarations of interest? No, thank you. We move to item 4, minutes of the meeting on 21st of April. To prove those which were provided to full council on the 5th of May. Did anyone have any correction they require to the minutes? No. In that case, I will be happy to sign the minutes as a true and correct record. Thank you for preparing those, Matt. Right, item 5. If you move to page 3, you will be able to see the actions and follow-ups from previous meetings. Kevin, is there anything you'd like to add about this?
Only a brief update in relation to minute 41 there regarding Weevil Park. We're still waiting for the final lease document, but solicitors have been instructed on both sides. I'm just waiting for that to happen. And an update on the play area itself. The tender submissions deadline is Friday this week, and that will be followed by an evaluation of those submissions and some public consultation on those shortlisted designs.
Oh, that's good news. Okay, any other items?
That's the only update I have there.
Okay, members, do you have any questions? Okay, thank you. Let's move to the next item on the agenda, which is the Finance Manager report. So over to you, Darren.
Thank you. Right, the report starts on page 10 of the agenda. The headline position is a net spend of forecast net spend of £77,000 against a budget of £93,000, which is a small underspend of £16,000. The composition of that underspend is set out on page 11, with the variances itemised and explained. Emerging issues that can't be crystallised into financial forecasts at this present time are set out on pages 11 and 12. And it's worth noting that this
early stage of the year. This is very much an underspend in isolation and not an indication of direction of travel.
Are there any questions?
Just about the electricity with the changes,
Yes.
have we forecasted the potential impact that might have? I know we're on a fixed rate, but we're not immune to the.
No, we're not we haven't crystallised the variance yet because it's so early in the year. So once we get one or two bills through, we'll look at that compared to the budget and last year's actuals with a different provider and try and sort of provide an estimate from there. But yeah, until we have some consumption under our belts, it's hard to say. But their initial documentation they provided us for the contract didn't indicate a massive variance to the budget. So
Okay, thank you.
Okay, item 5.4, what is the alternative use of the residential flat that we're wanting?
Leisure centre use. So there's a number of potential there for meeting space or for leisure activity in there.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just on that, does that tenant pay rent at the moment?
Yeah.
And have we built that into our budget, the loss of that rent?
no, what we're indicating in the report is hope that the alternative use will compensate for that, but until we have.
Yeah, so
Fleshed out.
it's flagged and I don't referenced it in there, but until we know what that use is and what the associated income might be with that, then we'll be able to explain that.
Okay, thank you, Darren. We were asked to note the payments in Appendix 6B. Does anybody have any questions? Just a reminder that we do ask if members could want some explanation to ask Kevin or Matt in advance of the meeting.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. If there's no questions on the payments,
Sorry,
Oh, go on.
Mayor, the budget for 26/7 is quite an increase for the year over.
what page are you looking at, David?
The Oakwood Centre room hire income.
That's the next item. We were about to go to that, so hold on to your question.
Bloody phones. Sorry. let
Right,
me
item
turn this
7, Oakwood Centre income update. Did you want to say anything, Darren?
No, obviously the data we've got here very early on the year. The only thing I'd say is in terms of, I can answer Councillor Bragg's comments a second ago. As we indicated back in the late autumn when we were designing budgets, we anticipated that we'd be able to increase revenue from this building, or wanted to target and increase revenue from this building next year. And the £120,000 was agreed as part of that process. So we're currently on track. There's a couple of invoices that were received in this year that related to last year that we were unaware about at the year end, which has increased that slightly. Having said that, those invoices are regular hires that the similar process happened last year, so it hasn't skewed it massively, but it is probably tracking a little higher than it will at this point. But the new council services manager is doing some work internally at the moment. You'll have seen reference to the over 50s programme. He's currently kind of trying to free up some space and identify some space for a programme to be developed later in the year to extend the use of this building for that purpose as well. So there are plans, and we're working hard to try and increase that. And obviously the catering income, we've only got 1 month in here. We have just received the second month today, and it's about the same level. So it's tracking about the same level, just above budget, but very, very similar too. So that's positive.
Okay, any questions about the Oakwood Centre income? No, okay. Item 8, Woodley Town Centre Partnership. Turn to page 30. We have the minutes of the meeting on the 15th of April. Chairman Mary Holmes is with us this evening. Thank you for coming along, Mary. Brian, do you take questions on this report?
Yeah, happy to, yeah. It's all there, if you I can go through it in detail if you want, or just take questions, we're quite happy to do it either way you want.
Do you want to give us an update on the banking hub? Because I know you were going to be submitting to Link at the end of May, and now we're on the 9th of June.
And we did, and got, I suppose, if I'm honest, the predictable reply. It was always going to be an uphill struggle. We tried, and the people of Woodley have responded really well. 3,500 signed the petition, but it was always going to be a battle. We didn't meet the criteria, frankly, that Link set out, which is to have at least 70 businesses in the town, which we haven't got. And I forget the number now, but it was a number of people living within a 1 mile distance. We were some way short of that as well. So we simply didn't meet the criteria. On top of that, we've got nationwide, we've got a post office at the moment. I know there's a little bit, it's a bit of a moot point. People are not quite sure what's going on in the post office. And we've got other cash machines in what Link consider to be a reasonable distance to get cash. So their view is access to cash, it meets the satisfactory criteria. We have got no case really. And unless nationwide close, they're committed till 2030 at the moment, so there's no sign of that happening. Some doubt about the post office, and I do understand that if the post office closed, as indeed when Lloyd's closed or indeed any bank closed, Link do another cash access review. Their only concern is access to cash. They're not bothered about face-to-face banking services. Their legal requirement is, under the Financial Conduct Authority, to ensure that people have adequate access to cash. They say one cash machine in Woodley is adequate. You might argue with that, but I'm afraid that's their view. If the post office does close permanently, and there are pains to emphasise that Morrison's are closing, but the post office could well open up in another unit. We don't know that yet. If it's closed permanently, they will do another review. My sense is, though, that they're not going to come to any other conclusion than they did when Lloyd's closed, or HSB closed, or Barclays closed, when they did reviews all the time. The circumstances are effectively the same. So we've got a battle on. That said, I think it's a live issue, and I think I wouldn't give up hope entirely. In fact, today, and June, I'm indebted to June for passing this information to me, the government are actually doing an access to banking services review. So slightly different thing. So not cash access. This is actually banking services. As I said, the banks are not legally required to do this. They are legally required to ensure cash is available. But they're asking for evidence, really. So the government are doing quite a speedy review by the sound of things to me. They want evidence in by the end of July, with a plan of having a report out in October. So it seems quite pacey to me. And I guess they may well encourage more banking hubs. Ambition is, at the moment, there's 250 in the country. They're talking 375 as being an aim. So they're looking to increase that substantially, fairly quickly. So I wouldn't give up hope entirely, but I think things need to change. And I guess this government review could well be the trigger for more action, maybe later on in the year. But as things stand at the moment, the answer was a pretty definite no, if I'm honest.
Okay, thank you for the update. Brian, June.
Just sort of following on from that, it was quite interesting reading the stuff from the Treasury about this survey, and they were saying exactly the things that people have been saying to Brian about the when they were sort of signing a petition. It's not the access to cash that is the key issue. It's that when you have an issue and you need to speak to somebody, it's how you actually do that. But I think, again, having read up about it, when we first saw the banking hub thing, we thought, oh yeah, this will be an answer that people can make an appointment to see their own bank on certain days, blah blah blah. That's all discretionary, and as Brian was saying, the focus on it was very much on the access to cash bit, and that some of the big banks have chosen in some areas to make themselves available, say 1 day a week. And you can make an appointment to go and see your bank, but it's all very dependent on whether your bank thinks it's worthwhile doing it and gets involved. There's no compulsion. And I think the thinking behind this review, having gone through all the griff, it's they think you perhaps need some more leverage with banks to accommodate this with people. So it's not going to be quick, but at least they've they're doing something about it, and there's an independent guy they've called in to do it. So I will actually circulate the link round to councillors, because you might fancy doing it yourself. Brian's done a response on behalf of the town centre.
Yeah.
But you can do it as an individual as well. So.
And indeed, they're asking for councils as well to do it, so
Yeah.
no reason why the town council can't respond to it. They're asking for, as Julian said, businesses, individuals, organisations that might have an interest, and councils, it specifically said. So it's a quite simple pro-forma to fill out. It's fine.
What's the closing date for submissions?
20th of July, I think.
Yeah, 20th or 30th?
I think it was the
20th. It is 20th of July, yeah.
Yes.
So
But
pretty
again, you're pushing it on Facebook, aren't you? People-
Yeah. I'll post something on Facebook to that effect, and we may get some response that way.
Yes. I think with all this stuff, you just keep nagging, don't you?
I mean, one thing I would like to add to your comment, Brian, I received a letter myself because I sent a personal letter in, as former mayor, objecting to the banking hub. And the letter I got back highlighted that they wanted 70 shops because they judged us under the urban. When I cross-referenced that with Crowthorne, they were also judged as an urban environment. Their number of residents living is 14,000 people within a mile of the town centre, as against 25,000 here.
I think though, David,
And-
that Crowthorne hub
Yeah.
doesn't have the face-to-face banking though.
Oh,
It is just access to cash.
cash access, but that's
Yeah.
what we've been turned down on by Link, for cash access. And the other thing is Crowthorne only have 53 shops. Now, that is about 10 less than we have here, and quite significantly below the 70 they say they won't give cash facilities to. So if they've given it to Crowthorne, I don't see why. I still fail to see why they've turned us down.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Well, I've had quite a lot of people today telling me that Morrison's are going to have the post office at Just Tiles, and people are furious because they say if the post office goes into Morrison's at Just Tiles, nobody will be able to get to it because the parking is appalling. It's dangerous anyway with the Morrison's it is, because there's so many near misses on that corner. And I just wanted everyone to be quite clear that the people of Woodley are furious because they're saying that Morrison's are taking the post offices out of Woodley and putting it in somewhere where they don't want it, and where it would be dangerous for it to be. So I don't know who would be able to make that
Can
clear.
I just say something to that? Brian, you, myself and Jane are meeting tomorrow morning, and that is one thing that I was going to suggest that we do, is write to the post office and explain to them that if they are reinstating a post office elsewhere in Woodley, it has to be in the precinct. The precinct is where people do their shopping. The precinct is where they need cash access. They don't want to have to walk a quarter to half a mile to get to the nearest post office.
I mean, I think that's laudable, but I think it'll make no difference at all. The post office will put a post office where they want to put a post office, with whoever will accept that post office. Because, with the history, recent history,
Oh, yes, I
very
know.
few people are going to want to take a post office on.
Quite, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there is better than nothing. If it's nothing or that, then it's that, isn't it?
Well,
Because we've got one in Glen Devon.
I tell you one place that would take it on, and that's Woodley Newsagents.
Right, well, that might be for them to then approach the post office and offer them, rather than us saying.
Yeah, they need to
It's
apply.
about to
Yeah,
apply.
the post office have said, because they replied to Yuan, Yuan Yang, they'd contacted her to let them know, because when she wrote in the first instance, and mentioned about some, because people have been talking about it going down to just tiles, and they said that as far as they were aware, there's nothing going on at Morrison's, and then 2 weeks later, Morrison announced all that 100 stores being closed, so they said they're out canvassing to find somebody who will take it on, but whether they get anywhere with it, as you say.
And if the Woodley News are interested, then they need to
But,
write quickly.
yeah, but I'm pretty certain they would jump at the opportunity. Because
Well,
when
they
the
need to make
problems
the
first
opportunity.
started, I spoke to them in there and they said, we'd love it to be here.
As Julie said, they've got to initiate it themselves,
Yeah.
really.
They need to do it.
They need to get on with it, yeah.
Figure
Yes.
it out.
They do. Right, other items on the minutes from the town centre partnership that members would like to ask Brian about?
So, has the meeting with the Wokingham person been convened as yet? I mean, Woodley Town Council are being ignored, it seems to me, by Wokingham, and I would like to see it sorted.
Yeah, well, we all would. It's very slow. I think the intention, to be fair to Wokingham, is they do intend to focus more on Woodley, but it is a little bit of talk at the moment rather than hard action. Certainly very short of a strategy, as I understand the strategy to be, really. So a list of maintenance tasks, maybe, is what we've got. I speak regularly with Warwick. I converse with him most days, really. I think he's finding it frustrating, to be fair, in getting things done. I think he wants to get things done, but he's finding it quite hard to achieve that. And yeah, it's nothing's really happening at the moment, to be honest. But I guess, as I say, I'm still hopeful that the talk that they have of focusing on Woodley strategy, or whatever that will mean, comes to something. And I want to keep the encouragement going rather than just say, give the impression that we're negative to the whole thing. We're not really, we are positive to it, but we just want to see things happening quickly.
Well, I would personally like to see Woodley actually very much involved in any strategy that is done by Wokingham. I don't think that they should actually have all the say and nothing come to Woodley. Well, after all, we live here and we serve.
No.
Thank you, Chair. Just adding to what Brian has said, I sent a response over to Warwick Heskins today. Brian and myself met with Warwick again to go through the terms of reference for the steering group, which had been talked about and for which we've allocated nominated a councillor to sit on. We had some concerns about those terms of reference on the basis of, in the nicest possible way, it's called a steering group and there isn't much for it to steer because there wasn't really anything behind it in terms of what those actions might be. My concerns were, and Brian's, were that could easily be a bit of a talking shop between three town centres with no clear actions or outcomes or targets within that. So I've expressed that concern, but as Brian said, very much in the context of us being entirely supportive of, a focus on Woodley and Woodley Town Centre and us needing to be involved in that. So
Yes.
at the moment, that's where it is. But yeah, we'll continue pushing and make sure we're in the middle of it. So yeah.
I mean,
Sorry.
So,
I'm afraid June has had a hand up. June.
Sorry, as a newbie, this is just a sort of question really. Looking at the terms of reference to the Woodley Town Centre Partnership, I mean, there are 2 borough councillors on the Town Centre Partnership, and as an outsider, I'd have just assumed that they would be kind of actively liaising with everybody else on the committee about how this thing is supposed to be working.
I believe the committee's never met. Because Bill's one of our representatives for the town. He's never seen this.
Town centre partnership, it's according to, you know, that we've got, there's 2 borough councillors on there, or 3 borough councillors, and so what's the role of the town centre partnerships committee in this? I mean, has it got a formal job to do as part of this Wokingham initiative? I mean, because you'd think it would be, because it's sort of here and it's been working for years. So why aren't they using that?
I've had several conversations with Warwick Asquith myself, and the steering group he's looking to establish will be made up of a number of borough councillors looking at the town centres of everywhere within the borough. So my argument to him on that was, when you come to Woodley, we want Woodley councillors deciding what we require and what we need in Woodley and how it should best be done, because you cannot have a borough councillor representing Finchampstead, you know, deciding what we have in Woodley.
I think what June's suggesting is, why don't we build this into the governance framework as it already exists?
Because it seems daft, doesn't it, that if, I mean, you know, unless they perversely don't want to do the right thing, I'm assuming that Wokingham want to get inputs from the right people. And you just read the terms of reference here and who's involved and who gets invited and what have you. They're all the people that you want to be talking to. So why wouldn't that be backed into this process and made a kind of an entity? Now, I don't know how effective you feel, you know, this committee works at the moment and whether it's getting the support it needs and so forth and so forth. But just looking at as it's written down, it seems you're halfway there with having the right people in place, and certainly people who've had experience of, you know, running the town centre without any help from Wokingham. You know, so why would that not be built in?
I think Kevin and I met Warwick, we very much made that point. Certainly, I totally agree with you. I mean, we've got the expertise in Woodley, and we've got people like Mark Ashwell have been quite active on the Town Centre Partnership Committee, and he has really pushed Woodley in the media, and it's been quite supportive, to be fair. But yes, we want to see that carried on as part of the steering group, rather than another entity formed effectively with, as David says, councillors from Finchampstead and all over the place involved in business of ours, really, and we don't want that, and we've made that point very clear to
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a number of people from Wokingham. It's up to them who they choose to represent, and you're not. I think there are obviously objectives behind what they're doing, and you would expect that borough councillors, irrespective of where they come from, will be working towards whatever the objectives they've agreed. So I haven't got kind of an issue about that. I've more of an issue about, you need to tap into local knowledge, and as I say, you've already got the town partnership here. I mean, so why that, I think that should be formally involved. I also would say that I think these terms of reference do need a bit of a look at, actually, because I read it through and I thought, God knows how this all works together. It's not structured. Yeah, it's not structured in a very kind of intuitive way. And there are also some little things like, you know, we've got 3 Woodley Town Council nominees, but then it says you've got two Woodley Town Council people, I think, who are allowed to vote. You think, well, so which one is it? Is it any 2 that turn up? Or, you know, it's. I think it does need a little bit of attention. But having said that,
with a bit of tightening up, it's a good governance committee to feed up.
Yes, we don't, as I say, why go out and find some other interested parties when we've already got the interested parties there?
And if I may, I just want to reassure the committee. I know there was some concern expressed rightly, I think, about the number of people that attended the last meeting, which is pretty the poorest one I've had in 7 years. It seemed to be the local councils, the elections seemed to be the reason given. It was by far the lowest, I mean, there was eight people there, 3 of them were police officers, which is good to see actually, see the police there. We normally get 12 to 15 people, so we normally get a far better attendance than we did in the April
We had
meeting.
no residents either, did we?
Sorry?
Well, we had no residents
Yeah,
apart
it
from.
was just a poorly attended meeting. I'm hoping it was a one-off because they are useful meetings. I certainly find them useful as a town centre manager. I get a lot of direction, a lot of steer from committees and certainly a lot of good ideas. And I go away with a notepad full of stuff that I think, good, this is really useful stuff. So I personally find them very useful meetings. And I do hope they continue.
Okay, thank you, Brian. We're going to move to item 9, which is capital projects on page 33.
That's me, Chair, thank you. Firstly, just to note, there is an error on that page, at the bottom of page 33, there's a recommendation in relation to some expenditure, and apologies for that, that's a carry forward from the previous meeting, that's already been dealt with and approved. So this report is to note. While I'm updating you on that, just to note in relation to the finals and that funding, that tendering work is currently underway, and I'm just establishing costs for that through tendering framework, and I'll report that back as soon as I've got that information. And just moving over the page onto the current capital projects, you'll see the mobile tower has been purchased. That's the only change on there, apart from the adding on the fire doors now that funding's been approved. And the Oakwood Centre business tables are being ordered this week, so that will be completed as well. If there's any questions on that. Okay.
No questions for you?
Sorry, just to say, the business table replacement,
Is that-
yeah, what are you going to do with the old ones?
We've got a number of broken ones which we're trying to repair where we can, but some of them are beyond repair, so that they will have to be scrapped. We've had a good few years out of them, and we're getting the same ones as these, so that it's just a new stock to
Can you
rotate.
try and find a charity to give the good ones to?
The ones that we can save, yeah, because some of them are still functional, but there's
Yes.
bits they're not tidy,
Yeah.
particularly. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Kevin about capital projects? No? Good, thank you, Kevin. Moving on to the Youth Service Subcommittee evaluations. This is on page 35. This was looked at by the Leisure Services Committee on the 2nd of June, which noted and approved the summaries which are being presented to us for noting. I believe that meeting was chaired by Councillor Michael Firmager, who is here with us, so I'm sure he can add any extra information. And I know Councillor Gilder was at that meeting as well. Don't think anybody else. Oh, and sorry, and Councillor David Bragg.
So my only thing is, I know it's been a few months, hasn't been very long. There isn't a huge amount of data on here. I assume that you've got a shed load of data that goes behind this.
It is, I mean, hopefully it's with Town Clerk, but it was actually attached to the agenda of Leisure Services last week. It did actually give like a one-page sheet really, because it kind of gives an overview of what's been agreed, and I can't remember the figures. Top of
No,
my head.
that's fine. I'd just be interested to.
But it's all been budgeted, it's just subject
Yeah.
to approval.
Yeah.
And it's about
It's just
15,000.
around attendances and things. I'd like to understand how many are unique individuals.
Yeah, I mean, we can circulate that information.
Yeah,
then
that'd
as
be
one.
super, just-
The request was for I
Yeah.
think the wording was for
Yeah.
concise reports. We did
Yeah,
try and
which
condense
is-
it, but we
which it is.
can certainly circulate that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any member have any comment or questions?
All I'm saying is we must remember that we are looking at a small cohort of youth. We're not looking at the entire youth facility for Woodley. That's why some of these figures are quite small, but we're looking to actually try and change the attitude maybe of certain groups to actually encourage them to participate in more, not activities maybe, well, activities are some, but to encourage them to engage with society more, as some of them don't at the present, or haven't at the present.
So what cohort are we targeting? Because I read in here that they're promoting it through the secondary schools now, so that's
Yes.
mainstream everybody.
Yes, it is mainstream, but what they're doing is going into secondary schools and saying, which individuals do you think would benefit from this sort of activity or this sort of...
So it's not inclusive?
My understanding with it, Juliet, is that I mean, there are a number of initiatives here. So the youth club is open to everybody.
That's what I believe.
And I think, yes, so that's my understanding. And the others are
okay.
targeted at
That's
people
fine.
with
Yeah.
specific issues. I think what would be kind of helpful for us really, I mean, having started up a youth club, how quickly do you expect it to get like that? And I think, you know, it might be worth having a chat with the guys at Early who've been running their youth club for a little while now, and they're also talking about extending to later on in the evening for another cohort of older kids. And they've also signed up with I think it's a Reading Football Community Trust, who are running another youth club for them. And it's not all footballing activities, it's other sort of stuff. So they're a little bit ahead of us on that journey. And I know that the town clerk there is very open to having a chat, you know, so...
I've got a date in the diary to meet with.
Yeah, it is the youth club bit I'm interested in. I mean, I get that the provision is targeted provision, I understand that, but that youth club just seems like it needs a bit of support.
And I guess it's down to us also for things like, you know, sort of carnival next week, if we could have some flyers for the youth club to hand out, you know,
That's targeted support.
But as I say, how you, you know, what you would expect, we don't know, do we? I mean, I think as far as the targeted stuff's concerned, again, I mean, we talked about this, didn't we, during the budget, about how you kind of measure effectiveness. And I thought it's very tricky, isn't it? Unless, you know, you turn up one week and they say they've all decided to become missionaries, and you think, oh, great, that was the result. You know, it's a different...
No, I mean, the targeted stuff is different, but I think the general youth club...
The youth club, yeah, and
Yes, but
promote them.
it's only for run for 1.5 hours, isn't it?
I was just going to say, I think the importance is the information that the youth club, the youth service subcommittee have spent time evaluating against the council's approved strategy, the services delivered. Each of those strategy aims were considered for each service, and each service was scored and marked. So it's considering not necessarily the numbers which are, and the subcommittee have admitted, are not as high as the 24 that they can take. They're averaging about 14, but it's about the outcomes for those 14 children more than necessarily the numbers. But the subcommittee have done a full evaluation of those services to ensure that they are achieving against those strategic aims, and the scores came in that all of them so far currently are. So there is also work being undertaken at the moment in terms of trying to increase promotion with the youth club,
That's the bit that I think was missing from the narrative. It said, you know, we'll review it over the next 6 months. That's great. I've no problem with that. It is early days. And, you know, and how are we going to help promote that? So it would have just been nice in the narrative to get that.
Tried to keep this down because in January it was very much requested that it was only a single page, but everything that went out to Leisure last week has it has, I think, 2 or 3 pages on each service, quite fulsome.
It was very, very good.
Yeah, thank you.
Could you come forward to the microphone?
It will pick up anyway. It'll pick up from where we...
Hello there. Yeah, I'd just like to add to, there's mention of some councillors actually turning up to youth club, and I did actually turn up with youth club with Yvonne as well. And when we were there were 10 children there, and then another 4 turned up whilst we were there. So it's quite a good pickup, and it's only been going since November, so it's early days yet, but they are talking to their friends, they're trying to get people to go there, which is all good stuff, and they're having fun, which is what it's all about, really. If you can't have fun at that age, then you can't really do. You're in for a pretty horrible time, I think, really. But no, it was well run, and it was a guy called, I'm just trying to remember now, it's Ken, and I can't remember the other guy's name now. Top of my head, so I've got it written down in my notes. But they were enthusiastic about it as well, and they ran it really well. So it was a good sort of fun event. Thank you.
So is there an opportunity on the town council stall at Carnival to promote our youth clubs?
Yes, yeah.
So that would be a great way to so many young people are there and come and chat to you.
We've got a new poster just being designed because we've also just agreed with Berkshire Youth to extend the age range ever so slightly to go from year 7 to 10 rather than 12 to 15 to try and just encourage a bit more attendance as well. So that's going to go out to the schools in this week as well and keep promoting.
Great. Any other comments on this? Well, we're happy to note it. Thank you. Now, item 11's been withdrawn from the agenda, so we are on to item 12, future agenda items. Is there anything you would like to discuss? Item 11 has been withdrawn.
Or has it? All right.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Any future agenda items, June?
Well, this is a question as well, because I don't quite know how this works. But you know, I mean, during our last budget round, which was painful, wasn't it? And you know, we were sort of back down at the back of the sofa looking for loose change, and we looked at there were a number of different options the officers had given us that we could look to save money or make more money or what have you. And one of the things that was on that list was looking at advertising in the Herald. And I just wondered whether that's something we'd want to go back and have a look at. I did.
Well, Juliet chairs the
Yeah, so
PR and marketing
so is that where it should
subcommittee.
go, Juliet?
So that's
that
where
where it
that
should
would
go?
lie.
Yeah.
Because
I was just thinking, we had a few things. that
which I
we-
believe
we
you're on
chat-
that committee, aren't
Yeah,
you?
yes. Oh, well, not now, no, but,
Oh.
but we were chatting about a number of things during the budget. And I thought, oh, we've had these ideas, but then we've parked them. But we don't really want to wait until it's
Can we,
crucial.
when's
I
the
think
next
it's a
one,
little
guys?
update. The council services manager is currently considering advertising across all council facilities and activities and sites.
Okay.
We've got the digital display signs, we've got boards, we've got banners that come up in the parks, and so he's considering it more broadly. The new leisure management system that's been implemented has a banner on the bottom of the app which has the ability to advertise on. So he's currently liaising with our communications and events manager to kind of design and develop that. Obviously, there's a lot needs to go into it in terms of considering community groups and supporting them with certain advertising, but also trying to optimise and maximise any kind of made possible revenue income we could get from them. So that work is happening internally. When it's come to a form that's a little bit more ready, we will bring it to the appropriate committee. It might very well go via PR and marketing before coming here. It'll ultimately come here for consideration because it'll
Well,
be
it's good
about.
to know it's,
It
you
is.
know, we've
Yeah,
been
because
thinking
well,
about
we
it.
have agreed our advertising policy
Yeah.
now so that we can move forward with
I mean, I did
making
look
some
at
income from advertising.
I did look at some examples, and some of them were absolutely, you know, other councils, and they were hideous, but then others were quite, it was just, you could hardly see any of the news, but others of them were, they're just like doing back pages, and I thought, well, it's worth a look, isn't it? It's,
I'm sure the subcommittee can consider balancing the loss of
As soon as he's ready.
information and possible revenue.
I'm really doing well tonight, aren't I? I'm suggesting all these good things, and you're doing them already. So, give that man a bonus.
Gives
Give that
an
man a bonus.
opportunity.
Great minds think alike. Right, any items that we believe deserve publicity or being put onto our website? Beside our wonderful youth offer. In that case, we'll close.